Welcome to the Thin Within podcast, the show for women who want mental secrets for weight loss mastery. I'm your host, Marna. I'm the owner of thinwithin.com, and I'm here to give you the inside scoop on how to lose weight by mastering your inner game. Diets never worked for me long term, and if you're like 95% of the rest of the human race, they haven't worked long term for you either. Every week, I'll give you tools, techniques, and resources you need to actually succeed in using the power of your mind to lose weight. I can't wait to teach you another mental secret, so let's dive right in. Well, hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be with all of you. And I'm really excited to be with Jeff and Jill today, who are two people who are married, and they have joined together and lost a lot of weight together. And I really want to talk about how this has worked as a couple, because I know there can be lots of frustrations. There can be pressures from one side. And I want to know how you both have done this. So I have lots of questions for you today. So welcome. I'm happy to have you both.
Thank you.
So first of all, how much of each one of you lost?
So I've lost 55 pounds since going through my starting the journey. So
Okay.
it's been a little over a year now.
Amazing.
And I released 60 pounds since
Oh,
last January.
oh my gosh. Okay. So what do you feel has been the most impactful part of your weight loss journey so far? Like in terms of like what's really made it so that you've lost weight?
You?
Well, thank you. But are there like certain tools that you say, you know what, some of these tools have really just impacted my body and life so much before I was doing this, and now, like, has it been really hunkering down and just really listening to your body and eating when you're hungry and then stopping when your body's satisfied? Have those been the two things that you feel has made the biggest impact?
So for me, I think that learning how much food my body actually needs was at first when you introduced that and said, oh, it's just the size of what fits in your hands. I said, no, that's not possible. Because every time I have tried to lose weight, it's always been, you have to have this amount of food and this amount of food and this amount of food. And I would put that amount of food on my plate and then tell myself, you have to finish it all because that's what your body needs.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
That is huge. Yeah. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Going from, hey, this is everything on my plate, I'm going to eat what's on my plate, to let me, instead of using my eyeballs so much, let me actually kind of sink into my body and feel into what my body needs from a food vantage point. Okay.
So that was a big one, but I always come back to hunger and satisfaction, but some of the big ones for me is tracking and rewarding myself. I did not know how much I need to have rewards.
Good.
That is so big for me. Like I just respond, oh, okay. So like right now I'm working on satisfaction. So on my calendar, I have a calendar in my room and I just record. Am I doing this and how often? And then at the end, this is what I get. And every time I am tracking consistently, I get huge, like just really great results. I can see the weight numbers just move.
And so what would be like an example of a reward and how you track?
So last month you talked, I think it was last month. It was about, I learned that if I want to stop at satisfaction, it helps me if I rub my arms, just like touch my body.
Interesting. Like
when
an anchor?
When I ask the question, am I satisfied? If I'm touching my body when I ask, I know.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So I decided to track that. And I would get 1 point if I touched and asked, and then another point if I stopped at satisfaction. And so then it was like, okay, so if I do this 80% of the time, it's this many points in the month. And then I would like find a pair of shoes that I really, really wanted. And then it was like, yes, I get a new pair of shoes.
So if you get a certain amount of points, then at that point, then you're like, okay, then I'm going to go grab I want a new pair of shoes.
Yes.
I love it. So you have it on a point reward system. I love it.
And Jeff was really helpful with that, because at first when I was like, I think this is what I want to do, but I don't know how many. And he's really like analytical. So he's like, it's this many points to get this percentage. Right. And I was like, I can't do that many points. I'll never be successful. And he said, no, that's only 80% of the time. And I started doing it. I was like, oh my goodness, like I actually am doing this 85% of the time. Like that's at the end of the month when I totaled it all up. And so I was like, yes, I have like passed my goal. But then I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, every time I hit like 88%, between 80 and 90%, I lost weight. So yeah, it was good.
Love that you have, because I tell you, I always say that the way I have rewarded myself is I put stars. I too have calendars here and I just put stars. I love that you use this. I love it, love it, love it. Because if we're rewarding, instead of making this a problem, our brain sees it as, oh, I get to do this. And then by changing my relationship with food or acting on a certain area, then I get to have something really cool at the end. I love that. And Jeff, what about for you? What do you feel like really made the biggest difference for you in terms of making losing over 50 pounds?
So I think two concepts that really spoke to me. Number one is just recognizing that it's a feeling, and you talk about, it's like having to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Right. So hunger is not, I found, you do this survey at the beginning of the 30-day challenge, and it's like eating by the clock, man, that was me. Right. It's like, breakfast is always at this time, lunch is always at this time, dinner is always at this time. And so I wasn't listening to my body. I was eating by the clock. And so, a lot of times, I work in an office environment. And so a lot of times it's like lunch hour is lunch hour. And then after that, you've got meeting after meeting after meeting. And so you really don't, if you don't take that window of opportunity, it's gone. And I would find that, I would get hangry in the middle of a meeting because it's like, look, I wasn't hungry at lunchtime and now I don't have time to eat. And so just finding sometimes just those little snacks that help, that help tide that over until I've got a window that I can actually have something more, substantive, or better yet, plan so that my meal size at noon is a smaller portion in accordance with my hunger level, right? So I'm not eating a meal, when I feel like I'm at a 0, when really I'm only at a 3.5. And so, my portion size is a lot lower. I'm, essentially, if you want to say, it just tides me over. And really that's all I need at that time. And then I don't have that problem. So, feeling into that was a big thing. And another thing that really is kind of become a common language is your inner 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And we've got 6 kids and
oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we've got a big family, and so we understand that whole concept about an inner 2-year-old throwing a fit and how to deal with that, and just realizing that is some, that's a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I just love that you've never made that thing wrong. You've never made it bad. It's just part of who you are. You love it, say thank you for it, and you deal with it like you deal with a 2-year-old. It's like, sometimes you get a little treat, and sometimes it's like, you're going to have to wait until I can attend to you. And it just has really helped us to be able to have those open conversations. When you're having a bad day, you do your weigh in and it's not where you expect it to be. We use that language. It's like, my inner 2-year-old is just beating me up today right now. And
right. And that's so cool.
And so we know what that means, and we know where we need to be for each other in supporting through, whatever that situation is, whether it's, I really want to eat an ice cream tonight, but my inner 2-year-old's really, throwing a fit. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to bring it up then. We're not going to go there.
Right. I'm so curious about, because this comes up a lot when people are trying to lose weight and they're like, hey, listen, I have a family to attend to. I'm also, and I teach, listen to your body, eat when your body is hungry. How have you dealt with your own physical hungers and having 6 kids? What does that look like in the practicality of life? I'm really curious, as well as you're sometimes, Jeff, you might be really hungry. Sometimes Jill, you might be really hungry. How do you navigate this?
So I think breakfast and lunch is kind of kind of on your own, and especially with the kids in school.
Yep.
That's kind of more routine. That's being taken care of there. And then with COVID, I've been working from home, and so Jill and I are home in the afternoons, and really it's just kind of have lunch when you're hungry, and so that seems to work out well. And we do try and have dinner together as a family, and so. The timing of dinner, we try and just, say, look, it's sometime between 5:30 and 6:30 is when dinner is going to happen.
Right. I love it.
And, and so then it comes down to, what are you hungry for at dinner time? And, you take what you're hungry for, and if you're really hungry, you take a little bit more. If you're not, then you don't. And you just kind of listen to your body, and you kind of follow that. And so, I mean, Jill's been amazing. I think she is my inspiration. She at the dinner table, honestly, she is my example. She manages her portions carefully. She leaves food on the plate. She's forked down between bites. She's practicing all these techniques, and I just see her doing that, and I absolutely respect that. And having gone through the 30-day challenge, I know what she's doing. I'm not worried about it. I'm not making a big deal about it. I'm like, what do you mean? You don't like my food? No, nothing like that, right?
Exactly.
I totally understand where she's at, and I respect where she's at and what she's doing. And honestly, she is inspiring me because I see her practicing these techniques that I know that I should be doing better at. And so, I mean, what do you think about meal times? That's kind of how I see it.
Nice. That is so sweet. And I'm so excited that you have a language together to talk about, for those of you who don't know what an inner 2-year-old, that's like what we talk about, that part of ourselves where we just want food, that part of ourselves where we want what we want when we want it. And to have a common language around inner 2-year-old, and also a common language around hunger and understanding and respecting each other's level of hunger, desire for hunger, not making it mean anything if somebody's not as hungry as the other person. But was there ever a time where you felt like you're doing better than me? Or like, was there any of that competitiveness that came into play around amount being lost, or any of that at all that you found? Or are you just not very competitive with each other? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm curious. Or like, because you don't want each other to be almost like each other's coach. You want to have that independence. So it can sometimes be an interesting balance, I would think. So I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. So actually, Jeff is much more like, whatever. And I'm more like, I think I tend to judge and compare myself more than he does.
Interesting.
So it was really interesting because at the beginning, Jeff's lost his weight a lot faster than I have. And like people that we know, oh, Jeff, you look so good. And then they're like, oh, hi, Jill. I'm like, I've lost a lot of weight too. And so it's just been this,
Totally.
Right? Men tend to do that. And so Jeff said to me at one point, he goes, this is not a competition between us, and it never will be. And so one of the things that really has helped me is a vision. So I love my vision statements. And one of the things I added in there was I can see the beauty in myself and in others without comparison and judgment. And so that has been so big for me to really work on that for myself. So it's never been, just, we just never compare. Jeff doesn't. I can, my 2-year-old can really scream. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But instead of letting my 2-year-old just scream, I choose to instead go, isn't that great that he's doing good? And really focus on celebrating him when he does really good and celebrating myself too, because it's like, no, it might be that he's getting this, I don't know, recognition or compliments from other people. And that's okay because I can give that to myself. And Jeff gives that to me. And so it's been growing, but yeah, it's been our decision that we would not compare and not coach each other. So really learning, like, I just need to say this, or what do you think I should do? And if I feel like I should tell Jeff something I've learned, I'll say, well, today I was listening to Marna and this is what we learned, and leave it. But it's been really great that we don't feel like we're in charge of each other. I don't know if
Good,
that's the right way to
good.
say it.
No, I think that's really important. You're
But,
going,
yeah.
Jeff, you're going through your journey. Jill, you're going through your journey, and it doesn't have to be that you're in charge of each other's journey. There's the respect there. I can really hear the respect between the two of you. And I love, Jill, what you said. I made a choice. We've made a choice to not be, or to not be each other's coaches, but also to celebrate each other's wins, and to not make it mean anything about you, Jill, that Jeff's getting a compliment, or that you, Jill's getting, and Jeff, right? That it doesn't mean it. Like, yes, great. Look how awesome we're doing.
Right.
I love that. And I love your vision. That is beautiful. And that works so well in relationship to one another in a marriage, because I've heard, I've had clients where it can feel very stifling, and I can feel the independence and as well as the respect. That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that you figured out how to be with this
I think
information and material.
when you also recognize that it's a journey, right? This is, when Jill started this process, she's really the one that, started with the 30-day challenge. She says, I'm looking for something that I can sustain for the rest of my life. And so we recognize that this is not something that really has an end. And so, some things that we've just really loved is there's nothing is off limits, right? Cakes, cookies, ice cream,
Yeah.
if you want it, you can have it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's taken a lot of pressure off. And also there's no deadlines, right?
Yes.
It's not like, yeah, we have our goals of when we'd like to hit certain weights, but in reality, this is a journey. And so there's the ups and downs and the plateaus and the things that you've got to work through, but you come back to the same principles, and the principles are the same, and one of the things that really inspired me, that you mentioned in our 30-day challenge is, if, your experience is that if you can keep it off for 5 years, then you're a lifer, you're good. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, we're coming up on, a year of having lost some weight, and it's like, okay, so we're 1 year.
Yeah.
There's still weight to be lost. We still have, we're still working toward our goal weight and stuff. But when you recognize that it's a journey and that there's not an end date, then you know what, it's okay that, today we had some ice cream, and we're not really just, fasting or starving ourselves for a period of time only to end up, gaining it all back later. This is something that's sustainable and can work into, birthday parties and weddings and, Christmas celebration and Easter and all that stuff. And, these types of things, that's life.
Yeah.
And I never feel deprived.
I'm so glad.
Because there's no diet plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just, there's no rules.
Right. There's nothing to go on or off of too.
Exactly.
It's not like you were like, we're done with the 30-day challenge. You're like, now what? You're like, no, this is a process, right? This is a journey. How is the mental work on the mental side of things? Has that been helpful in navigating life too, navigating parenthood, have you seen it creep into other areas of your life, all this mental work that we do inside of the 30-day challenge, inside of Inner Circle, inside of all this stuff that we do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you speak to
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah. Like there's the part in the 30-day challenge about treating yourself like a queen. And so it was like, hey, we went out and we bought like 5 different tablecloths, and flowers are on the table every single day. And it's become really important to me. Like I can sense a difference in myself. Like I just feel happier. Like yesterday, I was kind of like, oh, just like you say, in a funk. And I'm like, I don't know exactly why. I don't
Mhm.
know what I want to do. And so I was like, I'm going to go vacuum. And then I was like, okay, life's good, right? How weird is that? But so good,
I totally.
right?
Totally. It's just doing this mind work is so interesting to notice, to be the observer
Yes.
of your mind with food and in relationship with food. But also, it kind of expands out when you look at, I want food. Does this happen between the two of you where it's this desire for food, but you also know it's really not food you're desiring? It's connection, it's space, it's an outlet to just like go scream. You've got 6 kids or whatever, like where you just feel like I'm needing something. Have you been able to see that come up in not turning to food when your body is not hungry? Have you seen some of those conversations come up, or how do you navigate those with each other?
So I think for me, it's the love list, right? So the concept of the love list is
Oh,
really,
beautiful.
yeah. And so it's like, when I feel like, oh, I'm bored, right? And so I usually turn to food, or I'm, walking through and I just want a snack here and there and snack a little bit more. I really keen into, why don't you go do something on your love list? Go do something that you want to do that has nothing to do with food. And you know what? When you start doing that, all of a sudden you're not hungry. You're just not. You're so enjoying what you're doing that you stop thinking about your hunger. And so that has been really helpful for me, especially on those moments where it's like, you know, what are we going to do tonight for date night? It's like, let's go, do an activity. Let's go have fun. Let's get out. One of the comments that really stuck with me from one of the sessions was, somebody mentioned, when I go outside, I don't think about food. And you're right. As soon as you walk out the door, it's like, oh, I'm breathing some fresh air. I'm not really thinking about hunger. There's so much other things to look at, so many interesting things to see. So just going for a walk. And so, like for me,
Mhm.
just getting up from the table after dinner is such a big thing. And so I really go to my love list. Like, what else do I want to accomplish tonight before the end of the day? Do I
Yeah.
want to go for a walk? It's nice outside. Let's go do that. Or is there a project or a book that I want to read or something else? Get me away from this table where there's still leftovers sitting there that I would
You're
just
right.
snack on until,
Right.
whatever. And
Yeah,
so for me, it's get up and go do something on your love list.
I love that. And do you have, as parents, do you find that, how has it impacted also watching your kids listen to their body or speak into that language? Has that shifted anything as well in terms of parenting kids around your kiddos around food, or noticing what they do in relationship to you? What has that been like as a parent?
So there's been a lot of that. I would say that it's shifted this being positive about myself and my body, and then
Mm.
hearing my children. And when they're struggling with something, helping them rephrase it and be more positive has really been very valuable to all of us. Yeah. So that's been really, really good. And then I have to tell you, one time my daughter, she's a senior in high school, and she says, you know, I figure when I go to college, if I just do Thin Within, I'll have plenty of money because I won't eat very much, like mom does now.
She's like, I'll actually be listening to my body. I'll have some of this saved up. That's awesome.
It was pretty funny because I was like, she's right, and she's watching. They're all watching, and so it was good, and I felt like it's been great because it's not been something where I'm like, this is absolutely what we have to do, or you have to do this. But they've seen me go to my room because everybody's been home in 2020, right?
Yes.
I'm like, okay, it's mom's time. I'm going to my class. And so you guys are going to have to take care of yourselves. I'm going to class. And I feel like that's been really good too, because they see, oh, mom's taking a break too. And like the other night, I was having a hard time with one of my kids, and it was to the point where I'm like, I am just I have to leave. And my daughter happened to be having a meltdown of her own, and she was in her room. And so I went to her room, and she laid on her bed, and I laid on her sister's bed.
I love it. Oh, that is so
Yeah, so I
good.
could just like close my eyes and work through and feel what I was feeling and move it out of my body and recenter myself. And then she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm frustrated." "Oh, you are?" And then so we could have this conversation about feeling our feelings and being frustrated. And then while she didn't want to talk about what she was frustrated about, she was like, "Okay." And so she came out of her funk and I was out of mine. And it was like, okay, we're back. And I'm like, that was beautiful. I didn't
Oh,
sit there and stay mad. I just worked through it myself. And then I was able to go back and be with everybody. And we had a good evening. And that was a change for me.
that
So
is,
it was
and what
great.
an amazing model of showing, oh, I can actually, here's how I manage my feelings. I'm frustrated now. I need a break. Let me do some work to do that instead of going and seeing mom just eating, right? Like, I'm so frustrated. Let me go to the fridge. Like, it's great for you and your body. It's great for you and your mind. It's great for you and your family to see, one, you're a happier mom out of that
Yeah.
experience. You got what you needed. You needed to do this work here, which had nothing to do with food, which sometimes it can lend itself to, like, let me just stuff this down, this
Right.
irritation down. Excellent, excellent job. I
I
love
think
that you are learning and practicing listening and dealing with your feelings and emotions. Oh,
so. For
beautiful.
me, it was
Yeah, that
I
is.
have a tendency to or I had a tendency to make sure you eat everything on your plate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so I found that I was pushing that onto my kids.
yeah, yeah,
And so it's like, hey, it's dinner time, get down here and eat.
yeah, yeah,
And, have some of everything on the table. It doesn't matter whether it's vegetables or whatever, salad or whatever, have some of everything and eat everything on your plate. And, no dessert until your plate's clean. These things
yeah.
that
No, that's how so many of us are
yeah,
raised.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's how
And
we grow
so,
up.
Yeah.
so just recognizing that, oh my goodness, I'm a food pusher. This
Like,
is
I'm
terrible.
a food pusher. You're a
And,
food pusher.
and so
Inadvertently.
it really changed me and how, as far as, how I dealt with my kids at the dinner table and just
Yeah.
recognizing, look, they're eating according to what their body's telling them. They may not understand all the things that we talk about,
Of
and
course.
but they just do it naturally. And so for me to be insisting anything different, shame on me, right? So I really came to recognize some of that simple innocence that is inherent in children, that they're just, eating till satisfaction and they're done. And they eat what they enjoy and they're not putting stuff in their body that they don't want,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And
It's
so,
brilliant. It's
a lot of that
brilliant.
really changed me, and for me to just relax. Again, like Jill says, I tend to be very analytical, and so it's like, how much money is sitting on this table with food? It's not
Yeah,
even
yeah,
eating.
totally. No, that is such a good point, especially like think about going out to a restaurant and being like, wait a second, how much have I spent? You need to eat that all,
Yeah.
and what that does, for our kids' brains around like, oh, don't listen to hunger anymore. Let's just move past it versus that's a big deal to look around the table and be like, that's money I'm spending. And then it's like, wait a second, but really, what am I spending that money on so that they get the food that they need? And if it's needed and there's a little leftovers, we can wrap it up, put it away. We can work with that part of your brain that's going, wait, I see dollar signs with that. And
Well,
good for you being able to recognize the whole piece too around, wait, shame on me, which is not anything to be shameful, but to recognize that that was the pattern that you were in. Eat everything on your plate, then you get a dessert. And I'm so impressed with your ability to make that shift for
so
with.
talking about, packaging things up. This was
Yeah,
such a big
yeah.
eye opener for us is the emotion that comes with, hey, I want some more of this, but my body's full. And when
Yes.
you're dealing with a big family, guess
Yes.
what? If you don't get it now, you may
Not
not,
totally.
right?
Totally.
And so we really found that, if there's something that you like, but your body is satisfied, package it up, whether you put it in a container or put it in a bag, put your name on it, and it goes in the fridge, right? And then it's like, look, this is mom's, leftovers, don't touch it. And so you have this emotional security of knowing that, okay, it's mine and it's there when I want it, when I'm hungry, I can go get it. And I don't have to worry about this whole scarcity mentality of it's not going to be there and it's not
Yes.
going to ever happen again. And
Oh,
that was a huge step.
that is brilliant. Just what you said, that because this is why everybody, we know that food is not just a physical thing, that it has so many emotional ties. This is why a lot of times diets do not work quite in the same way, because they don't address this emotion that you're talking about. And so I hear this all the time from my clients who've grew up with big families, like, if you don't get it now. So you just change that whole paradigm by saying, and then you can all relax, right? Knowing that we're putting food in its place, we'll get it later. I don't have to worry about somebody else having it. Everybody can put their name on stuff. It's in the fridge now. Like that, like you just took that energy and the importance out of food and just brought it so way down into where it's meant to be. Excellent job. Excellent.
Yeah.
So in the fridge, do you see like everybody's little names on everything?
Not on everything. It just depends. It's interesting because when we started, for me, that was a really big deal.
Yes.
But now it's like, if I really want it, I set it aside. But then sometimes when the energy's gone, I don't care anymore. And so my kids will be like, can I have that? Sure, go ahead. Not a problem. Sometimes my kids will watch me eat and they'll be like, so are you going to finish that? No, I'm done. Oh, okay, I can have it. So it's really been, it is the journey piece of it. Like, I wasn't able to do that last January, not even last December, but here we are in April, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And it's, I can look back and just see that my inside self, my everything is coming together, and I'm changing all the way around. But it's not been just like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. It's been, how can I work with myself where I'm at right now to move that 1%, just 1% will make a difference.
Oh, and it has. I mean, look at both of you. Like, it has. And I appreciate that it is a journey. And sometimes that energy with food is so intense in the moment that we're not willing to share it.
Right.
And then it's amazing how in a day or even a couple hours, it's like, because you're not in that moment, it lessens, and then you're willing to share. And that sounds like it's really evolved over this last year or so. And I'm so happy to hear you say this is a journey. I'm on this journey. We're all on this journey. If food is the thing that you have a vulnerability to, it is definitely a journey, but so is everything. So is success, and so is being a parent, and so is wealth, and so is being a wife or a partner. Like, it's all a journey. If we can kind of love the process and enjoy the process, isn't it so much more fun and enjoyable? Oh, so if you had one last piece of advice, if you had one thing for somebody who's, I kind of like positioning it like this because this is so unique for me to have the two of you. If you have advice for other couples or a wife or a husband who's wanting to lose weight, any advice about how to make it work that has, I mean, you've shared a lot of really good tips, but any last thing that you want to share?
So I think I'll share a perspective about money, right?
Okay.
Because rewards, can be a big thing, and it's a real motivator for Jill. And so as the breadwinner for the family, I mean, obviously I want to make sure that, that we're using our money in the best way. And so buying a pair of shoes, every couple of months is like, but Jill's very responsible, super responsible. She waits for it to go on sale. She tracks it. She's super great like that. And she has her list of rewards, which is awesome. But really, to those out who might be thinking about the cost, it's just simple to think about how much is a doctor's appointment? How much are you paying for blood work? How much are you paying for medications? I mean, Jill was on, blood pressure medication when she started the 30-day challenge. And so, she's not on that anymore. Right. And so, those types of things, with improved health, those things go away. And so you can either, spend it now and reward yourself with really cool things that you're going to enjoy for a while. And you're going to, every time you pick up that thing or you put on that outfit, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. I feel great. Or you can pay the doctor and the hospital and the pharmacist, with the hundreds and hundreds of dollars that's going to cost. And so not only are you probably net saving money, but you're enjoying a quality of life today, and you're investing in a quality of life down the road that you're just not going to have if you keep doing what you're doing. And so a lot of people, and I struggle with that, right? I think rewarding myself is something that I really struggle with too. It's like, how much do I want to spend on, some little thing? Does it really matter? And Jill's really taught me, look, if you don't reward yourself, you're just teaching yourself that you're a liar. And so you do need to follow through. You need to set your goals and set your rewards and actually reward yourself and go get that thing that you want.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just teaching your inner 2-year-old that, oh yeah, no, you're not going to do that again. I don't really believe you.
Yeah.
And so,
and why would that inner 2-year-old want to then do or believe what you say the next time?
Yeah.
Right? It's just like a real 2-year-old. Like if you say, I'm going to get, like, we're going to do this. Like if you keep, we're going to put these stars. And then when you've really learned to calm yourself down 10 times, if you're like, no, just kidding, I'm not really going to do that for you. Like that would be heartbreaking. You wouldn't do that to a 2-year-old. Right. But we do it to ourselves all the time. So I appreciate you talking about the money side of things. What about even investing in yourself in the 30-day challenge? You've both have done that. And sometimes, that can feel like, oh, it's a little expensive. Can I don't know if I want to invest that money. Was that a little bit of a hard conversation?
So I don't know. For me, when Jill started 30-day challenge in January, so she really kind of took the lead. And for me, it was like, look, I know that this is something you've been working on your entire life. And she has been following your podcasts and things like that for about a year. I guess I'll let her talk about that. But when it came to making that investment, it was like, honey, absolutely. If you think this is the right thing, go and do it. And as I saw her progress, I was like, I need to get on that train.
I know, and you are so awesome. You're like surrounded by women and you're like there and you're in it and you're like so awesome. I was like, I love that you just didn't care. Like I didn't even know that you were having such amazing progress that you were having. And I was like, what? Are you serious? You've lost all this weight? Amazing.
So I went through it just to have my own experience.
Yeah.
And to be able to know and understand and to be able to speak that language and really understand and relate, because that was super important. So I think that investment really was something that definitely was worthwhile. And then obviously seeing the progress that we both made, it makes, the inner circle a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, done, and we're still working through this journey, and it's been, a year and a half, I guess, since we started. And we look at it and go, we still need to learn. We still need, every podcast and every inner circle is adding new techniques and new values and new principles that add to that strength, as well as reminding us about things that we should be doing and that we've already learned before. And it's like you said, you'll listen to it again and you'll hear something a little bit different that you heard before but you didn't really apply. And so I think we're definitely still in this journey together, and the value that we get out of the investment has proven extremely great on that return. So.
Oh, and I'm so grateful that you both have taken this journey together in your own way and in your own and with the respect of one another. Jill, what would you say if you were like, somebody who's like, oh, I don't know if I should, whether it's invest in myself or just something where they go, I don't know how to do this as a mom or as a wife or as, how to navigate this a little bit. Is there any tip that you have?
So one of the things I think that one of the reasons why I was like, yes, do the 30-day challenge is because of the price. I was like, that's like the price of a good pair of shoes. And so, or like
Right.
if we go out to dinner one time as a family, right?
Oh.
It's like way more than that.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those, like, put it into perspective. What is this really to you? And then, so yeah, that's kind of how I look at the cost is what is this really? Because we spend money all the time on a lot of things that don't really matter.
Mm.
But when it comes to something that does matter, we're really worried that it's not going to work. And I think that is one of the biggest ones, right? Is this going to work now? And that's why I had followed you, had sent me an email because I was connected to TTAP like months
yes.
before. Yeah.
Totally.
So then I just started listening and listening,
Yes.
just like, I don't know, because I've been trying forever. And it was like, and then I said, everything I listen to resounds with me that this is what I'm looking for. And so it was like, okay, go do it. And so I think when it comes to being a mom and taking time for yourself, the best thing you can do for your kids is to be the best mom. And you can't do that if you're hating yourself because of the way you look or the way that you act, or you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, or I can't seem to move past this block. And just really learning how to love yourself has been a huge part of this journey for me, and being so positive with myself. I don't have to be mad. I can forgive myself and move on. I can love me as me right now and keep moving. And that means I can love them better. I can love my husband better and just love him for where he's at right now. I don't have to try and push him anywhere. My kids, I can guide, and I just love them for where they're at and let them be on their journey while I'm being positive about their possibilities and helping them and encouraging them. And so, yeah, it's a journey, and it's not just about this food and my weight, but it really is, all of these things are connected in your life. All of them are. And if I'm not positive with myself and who I feel like I am and being kind to me, how can I truly be kind to others? Kind of like the comparison and judgment thing I was talking about earlier, right? If I walk into a room and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the fattest one here, instead of going, wow, you look really nice and you are very kind and I'm kind too, and we are all together. I can't really connect with others when I'm trying so hard to disconnect myself.
So that is how we're going to leave that. That was beautiful, beautifully said. And I'm so thank you so much for, like, you did your diligence, you did your research on me. So I think, you knew, like, right, you would listen and you would listen. So it took some time to want to, like, okay, I'm ready to jump. But I'm so glad, like, this is my hope always. It's like, we can lose weight, but if you don't love yourself or are on that journey of self-love while you're losing weight, then you just become somebody who's thinner, who doesn't like themselves.
Right.
Yourself. You'll find other things that you don't like, trust me. Right. So I love that you've brought self-love into this process, and you're giving yourself that gift that you now have forever. And you just keep practicing and practicing and practicing. And that's why this is a journey. I cannot thank the two of you enough for having the courage to do this with me, for having the courage to take the 30-day challenge and say yes to yourself. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for entrusting me to guide you. And I really see that, like, you're really in this work, and you can see why you've had the results you've had. You've really taken this seriously. You've taken this on, and you gave incredible tips and tools for people. And I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here and giving me your time and inspiring thousands around the world. I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for being our coach.
You are very welcome.
We enjoyed the journey. Yeah,
more
we
than
enjoy that. So.
Thank you.